Hi, this is Destiny from desphixs, and welcome back to another video in the e-commerce platform using Django. In this one, we'll get started refactoring the e-commerce and adding more nice features to the application. But in this video, we'll get started revamping and refactoring the carts, the checkout, and adding some more payments method like Stripe, PayPal before we start working on the user dashboard. That's what we'll be doing. Hopefully you will enjoy the video and learn something new. So let's get started. So I'll start off by opening up my code editor. And right now I want to open up the core app views PY. So we've actually completed the core functionalities in the previous tutorials. And right now we have this checkout feature that looks like this. Let me close out this terminal so that we can have more space. So this is how our checkout view works and looks right now, with this PayPal payments over here, and everything for now still looks redundant and doesn't really work as I expect. So we'll be fixing out all this. Right now, we can add an item to the cart, and let me see. Okay, there you go. An item has been added. And when you open up the cart, this is how it looks, right? Let me zoom this out a little bit. This is how the cart looks, right? And if a user wants to check out, see, as soon as we come over to the checkout, okay, let's firstly log in. As soon as we come over to the checkout, we are immediately prompted to make a payment. So a user does not have, like, even if a user puts this information here, it still seems like all this does not work as expected. We have all these buttons that doesn't work. We just have this one payments method. So I want to refactor everything. See, the coupon feature here doesn't even work. We have to make all this to work right now. But I will be starting with the cards. We have to change this up firstly. So the very first thing that I will do is open up front end template. If you already have the template, the source code template, look for a folder called front end template and look for one called cart.html. Now I want you to open up cart.html, copy all the code in the cart.html, and pretty much come over to templates, core, cart.html, and replace the code here with the one that you copied. So after pasting the code in here, if we get back to our site, you can see how this looks. We now have the item in our cart showing up over here. And we also have this form that helps us fill our bio data and also the shipping information. All right, that is cool. Then we have this button that now says proceed to checkout. So it doesn't look the way it was looking before. And now we have discounts because we'll be changing up the model to work with discount, shipping, and information like that. All right. So the next thing that I will want to do is actually write a simple function that's when a user wants to check out, if they fill up this informations here and hit the proceed to checkout, it will grab all this information and save it in the session, and also immediately create a new checkout order for them using that information that have been saved. In case you don't understand, let's start writing this. Maybe when we get there, you will perfectly understand what is going on. So the very first thing here will be to get back to core views PY. This checkout page right now, we'll be getting rid of this. We will not make use of it, but for now, I'll leave it as it is. Now, I want you to define a new function called save checkout. Okay, let's just call it save checkout info. And I'll pass in a request parameter in this one. Now, there are a couple of things that we still need to do, like defining the cart total amount. We've done all this before. You can actually just copy the code from somewhere at the top and add it in if you don't want to type it all out. If you come over here, let me see. Right now, this is the checkout. See, we have this over here. So we already have most of the things that we'll be doing. We just need to make the code better. Now we need to grab all the informations that gets typed in here and save it to a model that we will have in our models. So let's firstly grab the information before we create and refactor the model. I will say if request.method is equal to post, which means the request method on the form, which is this one over here. Hold on, let me look for the form. Okay, I think the form is at the top, which is this form. So we are checking if the method is equal to post. That is only when we want to grab whatever gets typed into those input fields. Let's grab the full name. And for that one, you simply need to say requests.post.get, and we grab the full underscore name. That means in our input field inside this form, there will be an input field like this one that has a name of full name. So the name attribute should hold a value of full name. And as soon as we call this code over here, it will get into this template and it will look for an input field that has a name of full name. When it grabs that, it will then grab its value. I hope that makes sense. So for now, the value is empty, but as soon as you start typing something in here, it will grab whatever value that you have typed in here and attach it to the value attribute of this input. And to get a hold of this input field, we have to call this name full name here in our views py. If that gives you a hint or an idea of what's going on, that means we should have another input that has a name attribute of email and another one that has a name attribute of mobile, right? And also I want to add in address and city. And also I will add state and country. And now let's also change that up. Okay, this should be country, okay? And then let's change all this up for all the other code here. Okay, in case you're wondering how I did the shortcuts, when you put your cursor on where you want to select, hold down Control and alternate, then click on your down arrow key, see, to actually put the cursor on a straight line. All right, after we've done this, that's pretty much everything that we want to do. You can go ahead and print full name, email, and all this to see if they're actually coming in successfully. Now that we have all this, we need to save all these informations to the session. So to save an information to the session, you pretty much say request.session, and you need to add a key that you want to use to save it to the session. What I will call this key is full name, and the value that should be attached to this should be the full name that we got from the input field, which is this variable here. Now, if that rings a bell, you need to still do the same thing for all the other codes that we have, which is all this. I will still save all those ones to the session also. So put this down here and also do the same thing for this one. All right. And just like that, all this will be saved to the session. You can actually pause the video and type it out manually if you haven't still gotten a hang of how the shortcut works. So now that we have all this, that's pretty much everything that we want to do, guys. The next thing that I would want us to do is pretty much take these informations here. You see, if cat is this, then the for loop, then there is something else that we will do somewhere here. I will show you guys that later. And we will get rid of this. We don't need this. We need this, I believe. I think that was pretty much it. So let's collapse this and take all the code here from the checkouts view. Take all the code here and pretty much put it down here in the save checkout info function. So after putting it down, you could go ahead and fix the indentation, indent all this so it stays on the same line as the sessions and all those ones here. All right, so after doing all this, if you want, you can remove the comments. If you don't want to have the comments, now this one is totally up to you. You can still leave the comments, okay? But I'm removing it because I want to write new and more detailed comments for this later. So let's go through the code and add in the desired changes that we want. Firstly, we check if cart data object is in the session. And if it's in the session, we loop through all the items that are in this session over here. And what we pretty much do is we add the total amount of the quantity times the price of the item to this variable over here, which means on every iteration, it will calculate the quantity multiplied by price, and it will add the new value to this total amount. That means at the end of the day, if there are like 3 items in the cart and it has looped 3 times, and let's say one item is $20, another one is 25, another one is 20. At the end of the day, here we will now have a total of $65. I hope you get the idea. I've explained this in the previous tutorials. So now that we have all this done, the next thing that we want to do now is create a new order object somewhere here. So now we have order should be cart object create. We only have user to be request.user and price should be total amount. But right now I want to change all this up. So I will highly recommend that you open up your models PY and then open up the, let's look for the cards. You can actually search for that. So let's search for, I'll remove that, that was a mistake. Let's search for class cards order. There you go. Now this is what we have. Let me collapse this again and also collapse this. There you go. So you can see that over here I have this weird looking number that says 99999, which really does not make sense. So what I just did to pass in here is 12, which means this can hold up to 1 billion character. That makes sense. You don't need to pass 999, okay? Just change out the whole 999 to 12. And by the way, if you want to take this application to the live server or to production environment, this is going to give you a big error. This is going to say something like, hey, come on, the number is weird. It shouldn't be 999. It should be at most 12, okay? Or 15, something like that. 10 is even enough, more than enough. So you can search for all the 999s in the general search. As you can see, we've got 4 of this. Okay, we've got a couple more. Now replace all of them with 12, okay? And hit this button. And it says, should I replace 9 currencies across 2 files with number 12? Yep, replace. And there you go. This looks good now. I will also put this on one line so that we can see how the code looks. All right, this is everything that we have now. Let's make a very big change to this model. We have user. Let me see. Okay, this is for cart products. This is for cart order. Let's work on the cart order firstly. We have user. Let's add another one. I will look for a char field, which is this one here, and I will change this one to full name. So I'm trying to create a new field called full name, and for this one, max length can be whatever you want it to be. For now, let's just leave it to 100 and remove the default. Instead of the default, add null can be true and blank can be true. Now, adding null can be true and blank can be true. It's totally up to how you want your application to function. Since we already have an address model, in some cases, a user might not actually want to type something in here. They might just want to use an address that have already been saved. So in that case, let's say, yeah, null can be true and blank can be true. And all we have to do is just take the address that they initially have and pre-fill it. As simple as that. Now, I'm duplicating this field into 2 places. I'm adding email, and I will also add another one called phone. All right. And I also want to duplicate this one also you could duplicate it in 4 places. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this will be address. This here will be city. This here will be, let's say, state. And this here will be country. And before I continue, let me explain something. So you might be like, come on, Destiny, why are we actually trying to create a new address feature here where we already have an address model in the previous tutorial that we could just make use of? Now, the issue is that we actually want to turn this application into an application where there can be a guest checkout and also a logged in or authenticated checkout. Which means if a user is not logged in, they just visited the site, they can also make payments immediately and go their way and actually make an order and go their way. But right now, the application does not allow for that. And for your application to allow for that, you need to manually allow the users to type in addresses over here. So that is why we are doing this and not using the address model that we initially had. Okay. So after changing all those addresses to state and country, now we have price. I'll bring back price here. I need another one. That one will be called saved, which means after the user has put in their coupon, how much did they save? And please change all those 1.99 to 0.00. There is no need for it to be 1.99. That really does not make sense, except if you want to specifically do that. So after you've added saved, I believe that's everything that we have now. Let's add if you want, you can add a shipping method. I believe we should do all that. Let me add a shipping method, and this one should still be something like this. Should still be a char field, okay? It should be a char field, okay, not a decimal field. So please change that up. All right, and we also need a tracking ID and a tracking website address. Don't worry, I'm going to create this one later when we start working with the tracking system in the application. All right, or you know what? Let's even just do that right now, so that in the future, it will be way easier for us. So tracking ID and also tracking underscore website underscore address. All right, so now that we have the ratings, I believe that's everything that we want. We already have paid status, we have order date, we have product status, we have the school, and I need another one. I need another char field because we'll be adding a payment Stripe and updated PayPal payments to the system. So I need Stripe. That should be Stripe underscore payment intent. All right, there should be models.char field. They'll pass it in like this, but I want you to make this one 1,000 characters. Okay, and after you've done that, I believe that's everything that we want, guys. You could change this order date to say just date. Before we do this, the best thing to do is to firstly delete all the items that we have in the model. That is the very first thing to do if you want to be able to change this order date to date. But it's totally up to you guys. You can still leave it as order date. I just like calling mine dates without any of those prefixes. You know what? Let's just leave it like that. All right. So when we have all this, those are pretty much everything that we want. For the cart order products, we can leave it the way it is. We don't really want to change anything. It's totally okay. Now let's run our server. So Python manage.py, make migrations, and also Python manage.py migrates. There you go, all working good. Now you can spin up your server again. And let's check out this model, how it looks right now. Hopefully I can still remember my admin password. If I don't remember the password again, I will have to recreate it. Oh, there you go, still working. Now, if you open up the cart order, see that we've got a couple of orders here, right? And if you open one of this up, you can now see we have a couple of fields. We have full name, email, phone, and all these new fields. That is really cool. So I will start off by deleting all the previous orders that we have over here. I really do not need any of this right now because I'm trying to start new. So let's get back to the views PY. Now that we have all the fields that we need to now populate all these model fields, full name, email, phone, and location. We need to populate those fields with all those ones that the user has typed in here, or the one that they have typed in here. So how do we get started doing this? It's actually quite easy. All you need to do is, here that we are creating a new object, remember that we've created user and price, just add a comma, and down here create for the full name. So you could say full name should be equal to full name, and then you could duplicate this and start changing it up. So this one should be email, and this one should be phone, and this one should be address, I believe. Address. Let me see, what did we call it? Oh, we called it mobile. But the name of the model field is phone, but the one we called the variable here is mobile. So phone and mobile. I know two different names, but you can change it up if you want. But for now, let's just leave it this way, all right? So we don't get anything complicated. Address should be address. Then we have city, and we also have state, and finally we have country. So with all this now, that's pretty much it. We've done what we want to do. Now I want you to put your cursor here at the front of the request and select all this. If you don't know how to do this, just hold down alternate and click on the front of each and every one of this to put your cursor there. And I want you to hold down Shift, Control, and the right arrow. Select all the way to the ending square bracket. And what I pretty much want to do is copy that, get down here and paste. And also please fix the indentation. Now what I want to do is, after we have saved the user information to the cart order model or to the database, there is no need leaving the details in the session. Let's delete all the items from the session. So I'm deleting the full name, email, mobile, address, city, state, and country from the session. I hope that makes sense. Please understand, I'm not deleting the cart order object. I'm deleting the buyer data and the shipping info from the session, which is after we have saved it. So after we have all this now, then we had this for loop that we run over here, and we had this, all right, cart order products, and we populated all this. All this still looks good the way they are. And remove this PayPal. Remove all this from the render all the way to the host. Just get rid of everything over there, okay? And all we need to say now is below the save checkout session, collapse this. Just in the if statement, inside the if statement, after the form gets submitted, redirect the user to the checkout page. So call checkouts. Let's see what's wrong. All right, I needed to fix my indentation, but that needs to come one step to the back, okay? It's directly below if statement, which means this automatically becomes an else. So take it in here so that when the if statement gets rendered, it will run itself. So as soon as we save that order items to the model, it returns us to the checkout page, okay? And remember that, okay, for now we haven't done that. I'll show you guys how to do that later. And apart from that, we also need to return something for the main view itself so that it does not show this view returned HTTP no response. So return the same thing, all right? Just indent it one step back so that it's now here. All right, so with all this out of the way, those are pretty much everything that we want to do. The next thing on my list now will be to create the new checkouts view. This is the old checkout view. Looks really redundant. I do not like this at all. I will just delete all this out for now. Just clear it out. I don't really care how it looks now. And all I want to do is create a new checkout. I'll say checkout, and for this one I want to pass in request and also OID. So OID pretty much stands for order ID. Let me pass over here, and I am passing right now because it seems like in our cart order we don't have a field called OID. So open up your cart order, which is this one here, and I want you to create a new field. You can just duplicate the school field and change this to OID, okay? And I also want you to change this alphabet here to numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Do the same thing here. And you might be asking, come on, Destiny, why are you changing this to numbers instead of alphabets? Now, this is just my own preference. If you want alphabets to be included in your school at your order ID, you go ahead and add in alphabets, okay? This is just my own preference. Now that we have added this, all you need to do is pretty much what is going on here. Oh yeah, we have an error in the URLs PY, because right now you can see that we've changed the name to checkout, but here it still says checkout view. Let's update this. So I will now call this here checkout. And because here we will have an OID, that means we need to also pass in an OID here now. So I'll say OID. All right, let me close this. There you go. Make sure to import the checkout so that you don't have a problem. Import checkouts. So with that out of the way, you can see our code running exactly as we wanted. Now run your make migrations and your migrate again, because we have actually messed around with the model. So after running this again, I will run my server. There you go. Now if we come back here and open up one of these, you can now see a field called OID. Please remove the prefix for it. I do not need that prefix. All right, when that is out of the way, you need to run make migrations and migrate again. So with all this out of the way now, I believe that's everything that we want to do. So let's finally complete the checkout view, and I believe we should be done with the video for now. So this is how the order ID and the school are looking. Open up your views PY, and right now back to the checkout. The very first thing is to fetch this particular cart order or any cart order based on this OID. So for that, all you need to say is order should be equal to cart order dot objects. That should be dot objects dot, and we are using get OID should be equal to OID. So get the cart order where the OID of that particular cart order is equal to the OID that was passed in the URL. And after we have done that, let's also get the order items. So for order items, I'll say cart order product dot objects dot filter by order should be equal to order. So remember that the cart order product have a field called order, which is this one. So we filter all the cart order product that has an order equal to this order here. Simple, right? Don't worry, I'll explain this in the future as we continue if you don't understand. So now that we have all this, just create a new context for this one. So context should be, and we need to pass in order. Hopefully, you know why we are creating context is just so that we can actually pass in these informations to the template. And I want to pass in also the order items. So this should be order items. And okay, for now, let's leave that out. I'll do that later. So with all this now, the checkout view seems to be completed as we want. Let's just return a template for this. So return render. And what do we want to call the template? Request. I think I already have a template called checkout.html. And please do not forget to pass in the context so that we don't miss out. Name this checkout.html, okay? Let's confirm if we have a template. I wanted to confirm if you had a template called checkout.html. So after all that out of the way now, guys, I believe this is everything that we want to do. Now that the checkout has this OID here, remember in the save checkout info, when we are redirecting to the checkout, we still need to add the order.oid over here. Okay, that means if you'll be adding order.oid over there, that means you need to actually okay, we need to see how this will work. Okay, I think this is okay. So we are redirecting to this order here. There you go, that's what I called it. So this order gets created, right? We grab the OID from this order and we do redirect to the checkout, appending that order OID so it knows how to filter the checkout page. Do the same thing down here and we should be done. So with all this now, if we get back to our code, reload this page. All right, what's the problem? Okay, we will have an issue with wherever we have the core checkout being called, because not right now, you see, checkouts, proceed to checkout cannot be called just like this again. It really does not make sense again. For now, just comment this out, okay? And look for other places where we have that call checkout thing. View carts is okay, but checkout is not okay. So for checkouts, we have to do that from a specific place. All right. So you can actually just remove all that. If you don't want to comment it out, remove it. Okay. So let's get back here and reload the page. There you go. Looking all good. So you can see right now that the cart order model is empty. We don't have anything here. But let's start typing Michael Jeremy. It should be the name. The mobile should be something random. Address should be 123 Main Street. Sorry, I think I made a mistake. This should be address. This should be mobile. Email should be, I don't know, maybe mike@gmail.com. And city should be, let me just say, and state should be Abuja, country should be Nigeria. Just adding an address here in Nigeria. So after we have all this now, click this button that says proceed to checkout and we get this issue. That is good. So to fix that, in the cart page, scroll all the way to where we have the form. The very first thing is to add a CSRF token. And the next thing is to add the action to this save checkout session that we created. But before you can add that, you need to register it in the URLs, okay? So open up the URLs and new route. So somewhere here, we need to create a new part. And this one will be called, actually, you see all the things that we imported like this really did not even make sense. you could just import views and inherit from views. Like you could do something like from the core import views, and now you can take these views, and anywhere you want to call this, you could pretty much say views dot then call the view that you want. See, we're getting that. It will make our code look less clustered over here, but we've already done that. Let's stick with it. So this one here, the name should be called this, and the name pattern should be called this. All right, so after that, I believe we have everything that we want. Now you could take this name and pretty much put it in here in this action. So create a new Django URL tag. What is the name of the app? Call, and then pass this in. All right, so when we have that, that's pretty much what we want. You could resubmit this page, or let's just open up the page. Okay, this is how the page looks now. Let me fill all this in real quick using the fake filler extension. It puts an email for all of them. Don't worry for now, let's use it that way. I will proceed to checkout. All right, see, it brings us to the checkout page. Let's see if a new cart order got created. There you go, something got created. And when you open this up, can you see it's filling up all this? But right now it's all emails, which really does not make sense to me. So let me remove all that and fill in some right data in there. And did you also notice that it redirected us back to the checkout with this OID over here? So all this now makes sense, working the way I expect them to work. Let's fill out this information here. Mike J or Mitch J. And for the email, I'm going to pass that in. For the address, I will say, oh, the placeholder shows address and this one shows mobile. Please change up the placeholder, okay? Placeholder should be somewhere down here. You could change this to say mobile. All right, now when you refresh, that should be working. Oh, that should be email, I think so. Then for the address, 123 Main Street. And for the state, let me just say Abuja. And for the country, let me say Nigeria. All right, that's not the spelling of Nigeria, but let's just proceed to check out. Now, see, if you get back here, open this up. Okay, you can now see it saves the full name, the email, the phone, the street, city, state, country. All right, all this are beginning to look good. So now that we have all this, I believe that's pretty much everything that we want. The next step in the video will be to go ahead and change out the checkout page. So the checkout page looks good and we show out all the informations and, format the checkout page to look nice as expected. Maybe that's what we'll be doing in the next video. Hopefully you will enjoy the video and learn something new. And if you did enjoy this one, do consider dropping a like and also a subscription on the channel, as it really means the world to me. I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, mad love. Peace out.